What's going on, internet? So we're in the new year in 2022, and one of the things that I'm sure a lot of you film lovers out there know is that in the month of January you don't get a lot of great films released. We lucked out and got Scream 5 or Scream 2022, but aside from that, there's not a lot of films being released in the theaters that I'm super amped up about to go see. So I've been spending a lot of time catching up on 2021 releases and getting pumped up for films in March and April. And so because of that, I've been spending time watching films at home and on streaming services. And as you all know, if you've been watching my channel for a while, one of my favorite streaming services on the internet is Shudder, and they provide a lot of really great films. And every now and again, I find one that just really shocks me as to how good it is and how amazing the performances are. And the film I'm going to be talking about today is My Heart Can't Beat Unless You Tell It To. My Heart Can't Beat Unless You Tell It To is directed by Jonathan Cuartas. Dwight and his sister Jessie reach a crossroads over what to do about their little brother Thomas, a sickly child with a mysterious affliction. I knew virtually nothing about this film going into it, and I think that was to my benefit. I knew a little bit because I read some reviews that this was a vampiric type of story, but it's so much more than that underneath the surface. So this film obviously is about these three siblings who we don't know anything about their parents. Nothing's really been unveiled about that. You can make assumptions on your own, but you have this older brother and sister who have this younger brother who almost feels like he's diseased and so sickly that he can hardly get out of bed. But the only thing that you are known is that in the very beginning of the film, Dwight, the older brother, is driving around in his truck, and he picks a homeless guy up in his truck and gives him some food. And they're driving in their truck. The homeless guy looks over at him and says, "Hey, I thought you were taking me to a shelter." He said, "This is a shelter. It just looks like a house." And so they get out of the truck, and Dwight beats him to death. Takes him into the house, and him and his sister set him on this table. They slit his throat. They drain his blood into this bucket, and they put the blood into like a cereal bowl, and they take it into their brother Thomas and feed him the blood. You're assuming throughout this film that he's a vampire. He can't go out in the sun. He's constantly awake at nighttime. So your assumption is that he is a vampire, but that's never spoken. He doesn't have fangs. He's not out attacking people. He's literally laying sickly in this house, and the only way he can survive is through that blood. And the film really at its core is about this relationship with these three siblings and the lengths that people will go to protect and care for the ones that they love. So all three of the performances in this film are phenomenal, but I really want to talk about Patrick Fugit, who plays Dwight. He is just incredible. The amount of nuance in his performance and how much he says without saying hardly anything at all. All the actors in this film really convey most of their emotions through their facial expressions and their actions. Sister Jessie, played by Ingrid Sophie Schram, they're doing these really extreme things to take care of their brother, and they're going and literally killing these people who they hope have no family connections, or that if they disappear that it's not going to come back on them. Doing this because they love their brother, and the lengths they go to and the amount of their lives that they have to give up to do this type of thing. And then watching Thomas, the younger brother's character, who is in this circumstance, who is dealing with this ailment and this affliction, go through living on his own, yearning to be around kids and to just have a normal life. There's this really incredible scene where he's been locked up in his room and he wakes up during the daytime, and they really stress heavily about how he shouldn't be awake during the daytime. Gets up and he hears these kids constantly talking and laughing together, and he talks to them about how much that he wants to see them, but the siblings say, "You're up at 2 and 3 in the morning. No one's awake. No one's going to want to come be with you at that time." And he writes a note on a paper airplane and opens the door during the daytime and throws it out. And his brother manages to wrap a blanket on him and pull him out. And when he comes in, you see his arm is completely burnt to a crisp because he's a vampire, and the exposure to sunlight causes him to get sick. Really fantastic that there's that much nuance and subtlety in the film, that it's not like your typical, oh, it's a vampire going on a murder rampage, he's going to rack up a body count throughout this film. More just this really intuitive study of this very specific group of characters. And you have Dwight, the brother, who throughout the film is trying to do things to get his mind off of it. He's seen spending time with this prostitute, and literally just paying her money to talk to him because he just wants to have some kind of emotional connection with someone outside of this dynamic. And they try to build a home and some level of normalcy, but because of the extreme situations that they have to go to, it's not really a family dynamic that anyone could even masquerade as positive. And this movie is a downer. It's very upsetting, sad, but it's beautiful, and it's really explorative of a subject matter and horror that I think hasn't been done super well. I really love Jim Jarmusch's The Only Lovers Left Alive. That's a really beautiful and unique vampire story that doesn't ever specifically reference vampires, but looks more at the fact of living so long and trying to find purpose after being alive so long. So it's more of the perspective of the vampires, where this film is looking more at the people who are trying to take care of the vampire. And you do get glimpses into the young boy Thomas's life, but it's really the heavy-handed focus are on the siblings, and specifically Dwight in particular. Most of the movie is spent surrounding his character, and without that incredible performance from Patrick Fugit, I don't think it would be the same. The cinematography in this is gorgeous. There's a lot of attention to detail in the framing of these shots, a lot more than I would have expected, but it makes the film all the more captivating. It's a very dark, dreary, sickly looking film. Color temperature really adds to that. The sound design is really quiet. There's a lot of ambient noise and a lot of things like whenever something suspenseful happens, it's not an over-the-top, ham-fisted, loud sound accompanied by a terrifying image. It's more just watching how this would occur if it was really happening. And that's what I liked. When you watch films about vampires, there's always something so detached from reality, believing that this could ever happen and that this would be something normal. But this feels like something that could have occurred in everyday life, and that you could see just going down the street that some family was having to do this. And that's what I liked. It really grounded it in reality, and the dialogue was so realistic, and the relationship and chemistry that these three people have together felt so real. And you could see the years of experience and the wear on each of their faces, and it was fantastic, and I cannot recommend this enough. This is one of my favorite things I've watched this year thus far. I think it's dated 2020. I'm sure it jumped on Shudder 2021, but it is phenomenal, and I'm really glad that I watched it. And if you have a Shudder subscription, or if you just go on Amazon and rent it, it is 100% worth the amount of money you're going to spend on it. It's one of my favorite things I've watched this year, and I'm going to watch it again. So have you seen My Heart Can't Beat Unless You Tell It To yet? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this was an incredible horror film that's more of a drama. It's more about this family dynamic and the relationship that these people have. And it was really well executed and beautifully shot, and had a great soundtrack and a great sound design, and I think everybody should see it. As always, if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot, lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm trying to release a couple videos a week. I'm in my final semester of film school right now, so just trying to balance it between that work and getting my schoolwork done, so I'll be getting videos out as often as possible. As always, Internet, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.